Fight, right?
Oh,
Yeah. That was when they got fighting the first time.
Okay, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the January 15th meeting of the Metroplex Board of Directors. We welcome everyone to downtown Schenectady. First item on our agenda tonight is the approval of the minutes of the December 18th meeting. May I have a motion? So moved. Neil, second. Karen, any discussion, changes, edits? Seeing none, all those in favor of adopting the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Next up is our treasurer's report.
So we are, our actuals are sales tax owed income, it's slightly over 9 million, so that's a, we're in a good area here. We're gonna exceed expectations on the budgets for this year, so we have 1,816,220 in cash and equivalents, and we have 3.2 million in undistributed projected commitments. Our pre-development budget is, has $134,778 available balance, and we have quite a few projects underway, and I think we're running them along smoothly. And I commend Tony and Jamie on maintaining excellent financials. So,
Have a motion to accept the treasurer's report? Second. I think this is the first year we've been under on the pre-development budget, right?
In a couple of years.
Couple of years, so great
Figured
job.
that we'll get the pipeline going, we'll get the DRI projects ahead of us.
great job.
You look at this number of income sales tax of 9 million. When Metroplex went into business back in 2000, let's say, 1990s, we projected maybe 7 million. Look at this today.
It's 5.5 the first year.
5.5 the first year, we're up to 9 million. That's pretty
Excellent.
terrific.
Yep.
All right, all those in favor of adopting the treasurer's report, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. We have a number of resolutions tonight. First one is the SI Group project, resolution 137420. I'll ask James to summarize.
The resolution is to hold a public hearing on the SI Group relocation from Niskayuna to downtown Schenectady. You've read all about this. The board was briefed about this at the last meeting. And as you know, the company's been around since the early 1900s, headquartered here in Schenectady County, looking after their acquisition by a private equity firm, but looking at relocating the headquarters. And Ray will get into more of the details of it, but they have landed at the goal headquarters in Schenectady, where they'll lease 40,000 square feet of space. Metroplex's participation will be grants of up to $450,000 and a sales tax exemption. But we can tell the public hearing first, and we'll come back to the board next month for final consideration.
Motion on this. Second. Paul, thank you.
I will recuse myself from any voting, but I will have comments.
Okay, great. So I just want to make a comment. We found through some good contacts in the real estate industry that the new owners of SI were going to relocate from the Niskayuna building. Literally multiple states, counties were in play. We moved aggressively to make contact with the company and through their professional real estate representatives. Had some good meetings with the company where they told us basically there was no home field advantage for Schenectady. We were really horrified at the thought of Schenectady International being headquartered someplace outside of Schenectady. We worked very hard and diligently with me, showed them lots of sites, everything from a really constructed county building down on Broadway to the old Walmart, or the new Walmart that really wasn't open very long in Niskayuna, and many others. They really wanted 40,000 square feet on one floor. They were really looking for best value, and it was a very strong threat of them having them relocate. I want to thank Neil. Our meeting with Neil here is saying that this was an extremely dire situation really at that point. Had asked him to personally escort the company folks on a tour of the building, the Gold Building. Great building. There was one floor available, and we'll bore you with all the details, but lots of phone calls, lots of meetings, lots of back and forth. We were able to get them to sign the lease has been signed, and off we go. There are a couple of other aspects of this project that we'll be talking about in the future. The company needs to create some lab space for themselves. They're not doing any lab work at the new location. We are competing very aggressively for the lab. Those are more good paying jobs. We're hoping to keep them in Schenectady County with the lab. And, we'll hope to have more information for you at the next meeting. And of course, we have now in front of us the task of filling the existing SI campus once the company relocates. And we can't discuss it, it's very confidential, it's very preliminary, but we are chasing leads for that site. It's a very attractive site and a good location and a great town of Niskuna. We've briefed the town supervisor, staff, some of the town board members on what's going on. We are very aggressively chasing a company to take that spot. We don't want it to be empty. So we will keep you posted on the lab and the outcome of our efforts to market the Old Town Road site that SI Group currently occupies. So a lot of effort, but this brings 150 to 200 high-paying jobs into the downtown area, near the harbor. Just anecdotally, when we were doing this, we received the information that the number one corporate tenant at the Marriott Courtyard in the harbor is SI Group. It's the headquarters. They bring a lot of people to town. A lot of people come to visit them. They have staff from their plants in China and all over the world and in Texas come to visit them. So, in addition to the fear of losing the headquarters, we're concerned about all of the spin-off effects and, hotel visits and restaurants and on and on. And that really kind of brought it home to me that, this is an important corporate account for a hotel and many other suppliers and subcontractors and things like that. So we're happy that the outcome was positive, and we urge the board to adopt this tonight. Happy to take any other comments. Neil, do you want to say something?
Yeah, I do. As we look at a little bit of the history of Schenectady, some of you may remember that MVP back around 2000, maybe even a little bit before that, was considering moving from Schenectady. And at the time, we didn't have Metroplex, but Roger Hull and I, who were in Schenectady 2000, had a lot of great conversations with Dave Olbert, who was the CEO at the time. And we convinced him, for the very same reasons, that he needed to stay in Schenectady. This was important. Schenectady could have one of our largest businesses. When we started talking, our company we built a building with Dave Hinkle. The building was larger really than our needs, and we've been looking for at least a couple of years for additional tenants. And the place still has opportunity for other people coming into this community. The building is really a wonderful facility. It has a fitness center, which is, I'm sure, terrific. Great food service, great location, easy to get to, easy to park and all of that. But Ray and I agreed very early when we had some private conversations with each other, we could not as a community afford to have SI go anywhere else, but stay in Schenectady. And this goes back probably a year, maybe a little longer than a year. My guys in our real estate department negotiated with their real estate people for a very long time, and some very challenging discussions occurred. I mean, this is not a slam dunk, but I think this was a partnership that Metroplex did its job and provided the support that the community needed in order to bring a tenant and keep the tenant here. We did our job by negotiating with them. We ended up giving them 7 months of free rent, which is a big number to us to keep them here, in addition to what you did. So if you add all that together, that's a lot of money. But we felt, our company felt, our senior management felt that it was important that we do that. And I've talked to Dave Hinkle a couple of times about it, and talked to Dave, the CEO over there. He called me a number of times and wanted inside information what the building was like, what it felt like. And I felt like we really worked well together, and like so many other things, it's going to be, it's not just one organization or one group of people. It's a group of people doing their jobs, and as a result, community won. Really good. Yeah, big one.
Thank you, Neil.
Okay, thank you, yeah, that was a great team effort. And as Neil said, a lot of people in his organization worked very hard, a lot of long hours, a lot of back and forth, a lot of attorney, a lot of attorney fees on lease negotiations. But we also hope there is additional space in the building. We hope this paves the way for more tenants in there. So, any other questions or comments? Seeing none, we'll call the question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And one abstention.
One
For the
exception.
record.
I keep my vote.
Speaking of retention projects, another one that we've been working on is our next resolution, and I'm asking to make some comments.
Right, speaking of the Gillespie Group, I think this is one of their first acquisitions at downtown Schenectady, the building, the old Woolworths building at 401 State Street, right down the street here. And they've had a state tenant now since 1998. The lease is expiring. Had discussions with keeping the New York State Justice Center for the Prevention of People with Special Needs to stay in Schenectady. Right now, they occupy both 401 and 409 State Street. They were consolidated 401, and the Gillespie Group is proposing a $2.7 million gut renovation of the entire building to meet the requirements for the tenant. Metroplex's participation would be a $100,000 grant. And our usual financial assistance with a sales tax exemption and payment in lieu of tax agreement. We held a public hearing on this last week. We had received no comments. This retains 80+ jobs here in downtown. The tenant will relocate briefly for several months into another Gillespie property, and then the building will be gut rehab, and they'll move in. Hopefully all that will happen during the course of 2020, but it provides a substantial upgrade to the property, keeps the tenant, and we'll be able to move ahead with this project with your consent.
Motion on this? Aaron?
Second.
Thank you, Neil. Again, this was, the lease was up. The state had many options. They went out to RFP. Remember, again, Neil got wind of this through one of his contacts. They were very alarmed because these employees spend a lot of money downtown. There's a lot of catering that goes on there. They have a lot of meetings and conferences and training. And we were able to reach out to the state. I want to thank the mayor, who's very proactive on this, went to governor and the state OGS Commissioner Vestito. We said, we can't lose this. This was like the first project in Schenectady at the old Woolworths. We can't have it go away. We're not in a position to have tenants leave. We're still rebuilding this community, and these employees especially are well known to local restaurants and to Open Door and many other establishments, and it's just a prominent corner right across from the movie theater. So again, a very strong team effort to prevail, won the day, and a major gut renovation of the building and a new long-term lease that'll keep these
Did they
employees.
take any more spaces?
No, they had expanded to 409 State, and they're consolidating everything, because they're under price pressures too. The state is under some budget pressure, so they're moving everything into 401. They'll use 409 as swing space, but we've got some empty space in 409 that we've got to fill up now. So the first floor, the top floors are apartments, but the first floor has got some spaces to be available.
So where are they gonna go during rehab?
409,
Or on that?
yeah.
There's enough space over there.
Yeah, I think Joe will, for now.
Good.
But,
Don't want them leaving for.
no, but we got a very strong team effort. So, any other questions on this one or discussion? Seeing none, we'll call the question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstentions? Thank you, none. Next, we go up to Craig Street and ask Jamie to summarize this project.
I think we had a brief discussion about this several months ago in one of our board meetings, Miracle's Craig Street project. This is another project up in Hamilton Hill. It's seen an increasing amount of activity over the past several years. This is phase one of a multi-phase project. Not-for-profit group has acquired the old Carver Community Center. The first phase is really to redo a lot of the major systems within the building. Just this week, the Community Loan Fund has made available a substantial line of credit that will allow them to move forward, start to work on it. Once it all gets completed, the takeout would be the $150,000 grant from Metroplex and some CDBG money from the city of Schenectady, and then look forward through their own fundraising effort to keep the momentum going, and continue to upgrade the building and get new activity going on there. With respect to seeker, it's a type 2 action of just rehabbing an existing building, so seeker's all taken care of.
A motion on this? Paul, thank you. Second, Aaron, I thank the city council for turning this building that the city had taken through foreclosure over to the new owners. Thank Community Loan Fund for agreeing to provide the bridge financing. They have assembled a good team to develop a scope of work. The next phase is really bidding the work, securing the line of credit, which, as we understand, has been secured. Our approvals, the city approvals are all in place. They've got to go out and bid the work. They're bidding in the winter, which is smart because it's the best time to bid jobs. And then they're going to say they're going to make that, our money comes in at the end. We're looking for, or takeout, grantor, and they've got to make sure that they've got sufficient resources to, as Jamie said, really put this building back in good shape. They brought in a good team. They're very confident that they can do that, but we'll be watching this very carefully. It's an important project for the Hamilton Hill neighborhood. Lots of folks really grew up in that building and have very fond memories. It's a very emotional attachment and a strong bond between the community and that building. It's an interesting architectural design. I was not aware until David did the research that the same architects who did the Schenectady Library and some other notable buildings designed this building. So we're going to monitor the project carefully. I want to thank Paul. He's been involved in these discussions from the beginning, Sharon and others. The goal is it's vacant and it's kind of blighted right now in the middle of this Craig corridor where we're seeing some great investment. The Boys Club and Girls Club at the end of this corridor. The project we did with community builders, so it's an important momentum builder.
What's the mission of the Carver Center? And how does it compare to Boys and Girls Club, which we've just spent a fortune on?
Yeah. It's, I think their focus initially, and they've developed a business plan and performers, and they want to use the kitchen as kind of a community training and gathering spot and be able to hold events there. They want to do after school, training and arts education, and kind of what they used to do in that building all those years. And the idea is that the neighborhood there, there's a need for services right in the neighborhood that and the building is right there, and the key is getting the building back open with a reasonable budget so that they can perform services for the community. And I don't know if you want to jump in, Paul?
Sure. Some of the things that they're looking at doing is, attracting different types of commercial businesses to be in there. Like people doing holistic medicine. Some of the thought was possibly a juice bar like Raw is down here, and other professional services to locate their business and hang their shingle in the building as a way of attracting more people to the community and others to come in to help sustain and maintain.
I hear what you're saying, but I'm not convinced. And I would expect, I'd like to make a motion that we expect who's ever doing this to come up with a mission statement and a plan that makes sense.
Yeah,
To have a building to bring in other businesses, that, for me, that doesn't fit. I use this French word all the time, raison d'etre. What's the reason for being, for us to spend a lot of money on the Carver Center? What's their goal? Is it the kids? Is it making, what is it? It's not
I
clear.
think,
And I wouldn't give them a dime until it was very clear what they were going to do and who's in charge and what the game plan is. When we did the Boys and Girls Club, it was all very clear from day one. And a lot of us jumped in because, what's his name? Hey, Shane did such a wonderful job of explaining this to us. And I don't think we should give these folks a dime until we clearly understand what the game plan is. What's their mission? What are they going to do? And we ought to have a chance to look at it, because I'm not convinced from, and I appreciate your involvement, but I'm not convinced there's enough here for us to do anything with it at this moment.
so I'm on the same page with you.
Okay.
As far as we want to make sure it's going to be, going forward. I have seen what they put together. It's more than just businesses. They're going to have, they're going to do community outreach. They're going to do, continuing education is my understanding there. They're going to, so like, if somebody in the community, they wanted to do, somebody wanted to be a certified women-owned business, they can come there and they'll do programming there to help that person be able to become a certified, woman or minority-owned business, so that they can continue their business and get more business. And I think that's kind of the direction, do some adult-type training. I was in the same position with you as far as what is their mission going to be? Are they going to be competing with the Boys and Girls Club? I think they're probably going to do some daycare. That was something I thought that was mentioned also, but I think I don't see it as competition or with the Boys and Girls Club based on the information that I've seen through the city council stuff that we've had. We've had long discussions around this. I think it's gonna complement things in the neighborhood. I think if Metroplex is overseeing this, I am fully confident between the leadership of Ray and Jamie that, things are gonna go in the direction they need to go. They have a consultant that came in, I believe is from Albany, that did a very, very good presentation.
I think that there's a lot to this, and I beg to differ with you, Neil. There's a couple of things. The Boys and Girls Club program was operational in the former St. Columbus School on Craig Street. And it had to relocate. We were able to redevelop that space with the community builders, put in a maker space with David's guidance and some apartments that have got rehab of St. Columbus School. But the Boys and Girls Club was on Craig Street and serviced directly that Hamilton Hill neighborhood. It is now located in a great spot, off of near Mount Pleasant, but it is not in the heart of the Hamilton Hill neighborhood. This building has for a generation serviced and been part of the Hamilton Hill community. It really has been the heart and soul of that neighborhood. The building is there. The city took ownership through foreclosure because.
How long has it been vacant? How long is the Harbor Community Center?
Early 2000. Yeah, the county operated. 10 years. Yeah, the county, let me just finish if I can, I'm sorry, with all due respect. The county used to operate a branch library there. They've really gone in and looked at the systems, looked at the building. Early on, I was very impressed with their construction consultant. And this is a leap forward for us. But our money is going into the capital asset. It's going into the facility. The facility is there, it's vacant. The idea is we're looking with the city to be a partner in doing something that neighborhood really, really wants. It is something that we've heard very strong voices from Hamilton Hill that this is something that they really want to happen. And
they should be able to recite to us what they plan to do and how they plan to do it.
Yeah.
Well, right now, it's a building that has been inactive for a decade, and some people have some great ideas. Okay, what are those ideas? How do you plan to accomplish what you're going to do? I don't yet understand.
Yeah, well, we summarized the materials that we've received in the meeting materials, but I can send that around to everybody. They gave us a detailed plan. And I'm convinced that the capital side of this is something, right now, the next stage is, we approve this, the city has already approved it, the city has already transferred the property, the community loan fund has agreed to do the bridge financing, then they go to bid, they bid the job, and we'll see if they have enough resources to actually pull this off. And none of our funds go at risk until we have assurance that they have enough money in place to pull this off and get this built. And our money comes in at the end. We're takeout financing here. So we've protected ourselves that way, but it's something, I gotta tell you, that this is a distressed neighborhood that has really asked for this assistance to really bring back to their neighborhood something that, it is so important to them. They actually looked at historical, putting this on the historic register because it was such an important community gathering spot for the neighborhood. So I'm asking the board, have faith in your team here at Metroplex, have faith in the community loan fund, which has done their due diligence, have faith in the city that made the decision to give the keys back to this group. They've transferred title and $150,000 of CDBG money. We'll go out to bid. We'll keep you posted at the next meeting, see how the bids go. If there's enough money, hopefully, to rehab this and get the systems and get it in a state of good repair so that they can open. And again, our money does not go at risk until the project is complete. It's something that, it's not a traditional Metroplex project by any means, but I'll tell you, it's given the neighborhood, given the other development that's going on in the neighborhood, given the needs in that neighborhood, and the emotional attachment, is the central, was the central gathering place in that neighborhood, and they're this close to coming back to it. So I'm asking the board to support this.
I just wanted to interject. I actually spoke to Shane about this, and he's actually supportive of this. I thought it was a competition thing, and he said what they're gonna be doing, there may be some overlap, but it's different than his mission. I mean,
Then they should be able to
Yeah.
respond.
Yeah.
So
We have, I will turn that around. We have
Yeah.
the mission statement. David wrote the board materials. We have all that. We'll
Yeah, the
provide it
mission
to the board.
statement is on their website, miracleandcraigstreet.org. It's all about providing organizations and the community with resources to health, wellness, through physical activity, food and farming, personal development, and healing. So I can send you the link to their website. They've been established since 2015, working on this. They've raised some resources, so I can pass that along to the board.
Can you honestly say you know what they're gonna do?
I understand the programming that they want to bring to it. We don't get into how someone's going to operate their business. We get into the physical improvements and that we
Sounds
feel
like
comfortable
we
with.
are, at this point, more interested in putting a building together that can be used for something.
Well,
And based on what I'm hearing, I'm not hearing how they plan to make the Carver Community Center valuable to the people it's going to serve, because I don't really understand how they're going to do that. And I think they have an obligation, really, at the beginning, to explain what it is. They're making a lot of deal about building. That's great.
Yeah.
But we're not in the building business.
Yeah.
That's not our objective.
With all due respect, I disagree with you on that. We are in the building business.
We are.
We are in the building business, okay? And this is a good point that you made, and it's something we talk about every day. We're a capital grantor or lender. We improve the physical assets and the physical infrastructure of this community. Tenants and programs come and go. Tenants and retailers and office tenants come and go. But if you have an improved asset, you have an asset. And that's what we're talking about here. This building, can we bring it back to life? It's sitting there empty. We said this, the city had the same discussion. I mean, it was,
And we
do
wanted to.
we just leave it, sit there and rot? Or do we, and have it be a non-performing asset?
Who's gonna pay for the rent? How are they gonna pay for the rent?
So they have tenants, they have projections, and I don't know if you have. we
Well,
saw
first of
the
all, they got the
projections.
building for nothing. They got it for $1 because the city took it through foreclosure. And they have the city funding, our funding, and the money, other monies, and they've got community loan fund being the bridge. And the next phase is, can we get through the construction phase? And we're not gonna, none of our money goes at risk until we go through all the construction documents, see that they can complete the project, and see that the physical asset can be put back into the condition where it can get a CO and operate and serve that community. And, just like we did, let's go back to the Boys Club. They were at 8 million, and they needed to go to 13. We found them the money from HCR, and we found them the New Markets Tax Credit money, which I chair the state's New Markets Tax Credit Allocation Committee, and we made an allocation to the project that moved the project from 8 to 13. Our job is to be a gap filler. We need to help this group see if they can't fix this building, which lies in the middle of their community, and it's just an empty symbol of failure in a corridor that we're trying to restore. And our risk is minimal. We are holding our money out until we see a complete bid package, construction schedule, and the project gets done, and then we take out community loan fund. So we don't go at risk at all. And it's something that, for $150,000, we're helping a neighborhood that has asked for this kind of help from us, and really, this is the same discussion though that happened at the city.
We had the same exact discussion, and, I'm comfortable, Neil, now I'm comfortable. I wasn't comfortable when this whole came in front of us. I drilled down on the consultants, I drilled down on the financials, I drilled down on their plan, and they were able to answer all my questions. My big concern is the oversight of making sure that it's brought back to where it needs to be so that they can get the CO. Metroplex being in here, I'm confident that we're not gonna be in a money pit, because Ray and Jamie and the rest of this team is gonna oversee exactly what needs to be done and ensure that it's not gonna be, dollars on top of dollars.
And the bids, and right now, the economy's good, people are, all the construction firms are busy. It's all about the bid environment. If the bids come in high, the project's not gonna go forward.
Yeah. Exactly.
So, again, we have check stops all along, milestones that have to be met all through this thing, so.
And I can tell you that they've met, the city's put stuff in front of them and said, you need to do X, Y, and Z, and they've done X, Y, and Z. They've done everything they needed to do to get where they are now. The one thing that they needed to do is get the building. They now have control of the building, so they can move forward and get the work done. But it's gonna be with Metroplex oversight, which is what I think is a critical piece of this.
Well, it's really depends on the bids. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, we're gonna call the question. All those in favor of the resolution 137620, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay,
Because I have not heard. I have
we'll
not
get to the
heard
materials.
What they're gonna do.
Yeah.
Who's gonna be their leadership there? To me, this is essential to just build a building
We respect
and
your-
not have a good plan of what they're gonna do with it. Let's hear the plan,
Sure.
then I'll vote.
Yeah, okay. And we'll come back and update people at the next meeting, and we'll send you the materials.
Okay.
Moving on to Glenville and our new $30 million cheese factory. We have Bel Joseph Cheese, resolution 1377-20. We'll ask Jamie to summarize.
We're looking to increase our grant to Bel Joseph Cheese from $300,000 to $385,000. The project has come out great. They're close to opening. The building looks fabulous. David and I are going on a tour of it fairly soon. The issue here is some of the cost overruns of the project. As you know, it was a brownfield site. There was some additional environmental issues that they had to deal with during the construction period, as well as the extension of public infrastructure, the water lines, the water main for the Glenville water system, sanitary systems as well. Not to blame the town, but the town kind of changed the route of the water line, then the town increased the size of the main from 8 inches to 12 inches. There are a whole series of adjustments. We're trying to help them out with the infrastructure on the project. So it would be an $85,000 increase to the grant we have in place.
Put a motion on that, Tom, do you want to make this? Second, Paul, I just make some explanation. We promised to bring water to the site. we promised to hook the water up to the town. We estimated when we brought this to you that it would cost around $1,000. We were really close. And again, everything is subject to bidding, guys. You know, this is what we do. We estimate for you and we go out in the field to bid. Came in at 325, pretty close. So we're 25 over, which is, you know, a pretty good guess on our part. The additional grant above and beyond that is to really clean up a site, part of the site. There's an old smokestack that goes back to the days when the military, the Navy, operated a central heating plant out there. I don't know if you know that site, and it's just a mess. And while the construction's going on, and while this 100,000 square foot, $30 million building is going up, we wanted to take the opportunity to clean up, do some other improvements on it, you know, to make the site really look good. And so we agreed to split the cost, you know, of some of this demolition of this site, this smokestack, and other things that need to be cleaned up out there with Belgioso. And again, if you look at it, you look at our payback on this thing, $385,000 plus $30 million, over $30 million for the company, national company, great reputation, growing. And again, they bought 40 acres out there. We have every expectation that Belgioso will grow at the Glendale site. We had a lot of cooperation with the town. It was another fast-paced, very involved project, and they're looking to open in March. They're ahead of schedule right now. I got to give a shout out to the folks at Chase Construction. They did a fantastic job. The company and Belgioso could not be more pleased with the quality of the work. So we ask for your support on this. Any other questions or comments? See no further question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Next up, we go to J Street, asking to summarize a facade project.
J Street, as you know, has been kind of going through its own period of revitalization. A lot of new tenants. Most of the buildings and storefronts are occupied. This is one of the exceptions at 125 J Street across from the new Whistling Kettle. It's a 1900 building. There's 8 apartments in the building which are occupied. Our interest, as you know, we're focused on the ground floor, getting more retailers in downtown. $35,000 grant to replace the storefront window, make it more energy efficient, give it a better appearance than it has. You can tell from the picture, it's pretty atrocious looking. The work is ready to get started. It's a type 2 action under seeker, so it's $35,000 to get this work completed in the next week.
Motion on this? Karen, second. Thank you, Neil. Any discussion?
Thank you.
No, you're sitting at Whistling Kettle. We talked to those folks today, and they said they're doing great. They love it there. You know, they have the Troy location, the Boston Spa location. They're really thriving on J Street. You're sitting there and you look out, and this is what you see. We just got to fix this facade. So we appreciate the board's support for this modest expenditure to fix a very cool looking building. And we have a lot. This building has a lot of potential. That's what our
For this,
is on us.
for this phase, yeah. It could use a paint job, the whole building could use a paint job, but let's see what
They've been
happens.
working on it. They were working on it yesterday.
Yeah,
Yesterday was
yeah, when warmer weather comes in, hopefully the owner will paint it, it'll look pretty sterling.
And again, this, you know, you knock these buildings off one at a time. Next to it is the building on the corner, J and Franklin, very important building. We're working very hard to come to you with a project on that. Look at it as you leave tonight. You know, it's that long building that faces City Hall, and is across also from Open Door. So one success leads to another on J and throughout the community. Any other comments or questions? Seeing none, we'll call the question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? I don't see anyone from the public here, just staff. Any comments from the board on any matters of interest or concern? Seeing none, we meet again in February, our usual time. And
11th, I believe.
the 11th?
I got an issue.
Sure.
I wanted to look at our website. I had trouble getting on the website. When I got on the website, I saw a lot of good stuff about what we're doing. But like we said over there, I couldn't find a mission statement. I couldn't find anything that talked about where Metroplex came from, how it was formed, how we got this great thing going that we've had going here for a lot of years. There was nothing on about our history. And to me, if you're going to do a website, we should have that information available, so anybody who wants to see where did you come from? What is Metroplex? How do you get started? You don't get any of that information. And I think we should, we're obligated to do that, and I would highly recommend it.
We're regulated by the state on what we have to post on the website. We're very heavily regulated in that regard. When I came here, the website hadn't been updated. We update it just about every day. We thank Jennifer on that. We post a lot of news and updates. Again, with our small staff, we do the best we can, but we'll take a look at it.
We should have.
Any other comments, questions? Seeing none, we'll call for a motion to adjourn. Somebody? Thank you. Have a great night.
Thank you. Thank you guys. It's about